And you want to show your side? Then,
法师，阿弥陀佛。I just logging up some technical difficulty here, but I think it's good now.
Okay. Can you hear me? I seem to have some problem with my microphone.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You want to share your
Okay.
screen?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Stop sharing.
It's shared.
Okay. Your camera is not on, right?
I'm trying to turn it on. Yeah, I'm using the hospital computer, so it's a little bit of a.
You were
I cannot
on.
download the client. Yeah, it's good now.
It's on now. Yeah. All right, you ready? Go.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe I'll say a couple words. Good evening, everyone. 大家晚上好，或者是早上好。我们今天很高兴请到王恒冰医师来和我们谈谈这个新冠的疫情。So I'm very happy to have Dr. Wang to share with us, to update us with the pandemic. And I think everyone is familiar with Dr. Wang, so I don't need to waste too much time to talk about it. 我想大家对王医师并不陌生了，所以我就不多讲。他就是在我们城外的医院当医师，他们几年前是从明尼苏达州特地搬过来的。So he practiced medicine just outside CDB in the Ukiah Valley Hospital. And the whole family moved over from Minnesota a few years ago. Okay, so Hengbing, you want to take it over at this point?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Hengbing Wang, and it's a pleasure to be back again. Last time I gave the update was almost 10 months ago. I think afterwards, Dr. Chunling Wang gave another update a couple months ago. So I'm going to speak in English first and try to translate in Chinese. 大家晚上好，我是王恒明医生。上次给大家，今天晚上有幸给大家再做一次关于新冠的更新。上一次我记得做这个报告大概都是10个月以前了。几个月之前，那个王丛林博士也有过一次类似的报告。So we're still dealing with the pandemic. I don't think we're entered the endemic yet. We still see quite a bit of infections. In fact, in the last 2 months or so, just my patients alone, I have seen way more infections than any time since the pandemic started in January of 2020. We still have, on average, over 120,000 new cases per day. We still lose close to 400 patients each day, and there are still tons of hospitalizations. A couple months ago in Mendocino County, where I live and practice, and also where CTDB is, we almost had no hospitalizations, but in the last months, we have seen on average between 3 to 6 hospitalizations. We also had 1 or 2 deaths. As of last Thursday, we had about 6 patients hospitalized. Luckily, none of them was in the ICU. 那我们现在来看呢，这个新冠大流行呢，远远还没有结束啊。我记得我去年讲的时候，那现在是不是可以转到地区性流行了这种小流行？但是现在看来还没有好到那种程度。每天呢，我们还是大概有将近有12万人的感染，当然这个数字可能比真正感染的要低了，因为现在这个大家自己在家里测的这种结果不一定能够反映到真实的数据采集。那每天呢，我们这个整个美国还是有将近400例病人会因为新冠而死亡，住院率呢也是居高不下。那几个月前呢，在我们这个门多西诺这个县呢，几乎是没有什么住院的病例了。但最近1-2个月，每天都大概有3到6个病人这样住院。在上个星期四我去看的时候呢，大概整个在门多西诺县的3个医院这个系统内有6位病人因为新冠住院但是庆幸的是呢，没有一个人是在这个重症监护病房。So you can see on the this picture since April to what is now that the variants or subvariants of original Omicron has changed significantly. Now, as of last week, the predominant infections are caused by the variant Omicron variant BA.5. A small portion of it is BA.4. You can see the gradual change.
So, no, we don't see the slide. You're still in the first slide.
Oh, okay. That's can you see it now?
Yeah, yes.
But somehow, do you see it on full screen or just like not a full screen?
Not full screen.
Not full screen. Somehow what about now? Is it good?
No change.
Oh, some things happen. This computer is issue. So I'm probably just gonna present like this if everything is fine. If everybody's okay, because I couldn't put it on the full screen for some reason.
You want to try to click the full screen icon in the lower right button.
This one?
对，右下角这边有一个，你在下面这里，不是，在这个最下面的这个图的最下面，你的 cursor 要就往下移，然后再过来一点，再一个，那个。
Zoom out?
No. 旁边那个你刚刚错过了，那个在这个 room 的左手边不是有几个那个 icon 吗？
对，是有几个 icon， 这个不是 full screen 的。
最右那个 full screen， 那个最右边的 try that one.
What about now?
Doesn't change.
Yeah, so there's something wrong with this computer. I don't know why.
It's okay. Let's go with that then.
Just 1 second. Let me see whether I can. It's still not working. Okay, I'm just gonna try to maybe yeah, it doesn't let me restart this real quick. I am restarted this file and try to slideshow it again. Can you see I am advancing the slides?
No, still first line.
Oh boy.
Go to the slideshow. Supposed to be there on the right bottom. 那个右边下面最下面一行不是有好几个那个东西吗？那个对，是那个点那个，它应该会变成是 full screen。
It's full screen on my computer, so it's always full screen on my computer. It's
I see. 但是
yeah. Somehow it's
the Zoom doesn't quite. It's okay. Just I think we just.
okay. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna keep going then. So this slides on the pretty much on the left. 在最左边这个有最左边这个图大概就是从4月份到现在整个这个感染的这个新冠的这个亚型，大家可以看到现在最主要的将近80%以上的这个新冠病人的感染都是由于感染这个 Omicron 的亚型叫 BA.5。那你看这个从4月开始，从5月开始到现在已经是主要的这个亚型，但现在我没有看到其他的这个亚型，主要是这个 BA.5 和 BA.4。So are we near the peak of the current Omicron subvariant BA.5 infection? We are probably very close to the peak. This is actually a method that has been used to monitor the COVID infections by actually analyzing the sewage wastewater viral particles throughout the United States. You can see there are a couple peaks chronologically corresponding to each virus peak or infection that we had, especially the January was the Omicron, and now we are at the subvariant, which is BA.5, and the sewage wastewater peak is always a bit earlier before actual infection peaks. So the shaded peak is actual infection. The solid line, this is the wastewater viral particles that we measured at from the sewage wastewater. 那我们现在的这个感染的这个BA.5的这种亚型有没有到达峰值，或者会不会快过去呢？那根据现在的一些数据来显示呢，可能我们已经到达了这个顶峰，也许在很快将会过去。这个呢是一个用污水的一些数据来采集污水，来采集这个污水里这个病人排掉或者我们排掉的这个新冠的这个病毒的这个核酸的这些片段。我们可以看到这个每一次在历史上每一次的这个感染，这个在污水里这个核酸片段的这个量值，跟这个真正在外边这个病人感染这个量值是非常相关的，而且它一般在比真正的这个感染的这个峰值要来得早一些。如果它那如果现在看的话，如果污水的这里边这个病毒的这个片段已经到达峰值或者要下降的话，那我们可以预见到，那未来真正的这个外边感染的病例也会逐渐会下降。So this is actual the wastewater monitoring of the viral particles throughout the United States, categorized by the 4 regions. You can see that between March and July, so we're at the very tail end of July, you can see at least 2 regions, specifically the West Mountaineers, as well as the South and Central. We see the viral particles detection in the sewage water is declining. So by comparing to the previous data and model, I anticipate, or this data predicts that actual infection is close to the peak or is going to drop in the near future. The East still see a little bit of a increase, maybe plateaued, but it will be very close and follow the trend from the West and the South. 那这个呢，就是还是相应的污水里边这个病毒核酸片段的这个数值，是根据这个美国的不同的这个地域来做的这个分析。大家可以看这个绿色的和红色的，它现在在7月底了，已经这个在污水里边那个浓度已经开始下降。那根据我们前一张看的那个图，一般的这个会表示或者会预计真正的感染也会逐渐下降。那东部呢，这个大概已经平了，已经大概到达了顶峰。那预计也会和这个西部和南部一样，慢慢的这个感染会慢慢的下降。My slides is kind of I try to just give try to give them concise information, and some of the information that just come out. There are so many publications right now, so there's not a whole lot of transition. I just wanted to introduce the new vaccine to you guys. Some of you may have heard about 2 weeks ago, the CDC finally approved the protein subunit-based vaccine, which is different from the mRNA technology such as Moderna's and Pfizer's. And this has been dubbed by many authorities, as well as Dr. Hengbing Wang in multiple presentations before, that this is going to be a more affordable and easier way to vaccine the entire world than mRNA vaccine. So 2 weeks ago, CDC approved it. The data actually was presented and published way before this. And I'm pretty sure Dr. Hengbing Wang presented data. And it's a protein subunit based. It is given just like mRNA vaccine in a primary series that contains 2 doses between about 3 weeks apart, depending on whether you're immunocompromised or not. If you're immunocompromised, you can get a second dose 3 weeks. Then if you're not, then there's a flexibility. And currently, the Novavax protein subunit-based vaccine has not been approved for use as a booster dose. This in comparison to the Moderna and Pfizer's mRNA vaccine, that you can take that a booster. 那我想这个给大家下一步介绍的，直接跳到呢，就是我们现在有第4个疫苗了。大家知道前3个疫苗呢都是通过 mRNA 啊或者是 DNA 这个来通过一些这种遗传的这种核糖核酸的这种方法来取得免疫。那这个呢是比较传统的一种工艺，那么就是用一种蛋白工程造出来的这个蛋白的以基于蛋白的这个基础做出来的疫苗。那这个很多我们现在市场上运用的这些疫苗呢都是基于蛋白的，比如说有一些流感疫苗，比如说那个人类乳瘤病毒的这些疫苗都是通过这种蛋白工程做出来的疫苗。那这个呢时间呢比mRNA 或者 DNA 这个工程呢要时间更长，20年或者30年以上。所以而且呢这个比 mRNA 或者 DNA 的这个工艺要简单，那个方法呢也比储存方法和运输也比较简单。所以这个一直是被世界卫生组织的一些专家，甚至这个王存林博士在他以前的这个做的报告中都多次讲到，这个比 mRNA 这个疫苗在全世界应用起来的话更加有适应性。那这个呢是一个蛋白疫苗，也是现在仅仅是被批准的是就是在最开始的接种，也是2针打到这个肌肉里边，一般都是在胳膊上 一般是在3到8周这2针之间有这个间隔。如果你有免疫力低下的话，你3个星期以后就可以打第2针。如果你没有这个免疫低下的话，那这个时间就比较灵活一些。So what other ingredients of this Novavax protein subunit based vaccine? So this is actually a great controversy initially contributed to a lot of vaccine hesitancy based on the novel mechanism how this vaccine was initially developed, how mRNA vaccine was initially developed. So we're not sure mRNA vaccine was safe. There are a lot of people who are very concerned about the safety and applicability. But if you look at this protein-based vaccine from Novavax, the ingredients are fairly common to what we have had before with influenza and many other vaccines. It contains the protein, which is engineered, which is not a naturally occurred protein. It's an engineered protein that mimics the actual virus spike protein. So if you remember, the mRNA vaccine is actually injection of mRNA a segment or a fragment that enters the human body, then used our cells' ability to translate protein in order to produce this segment of a spike protein. So this bypassed that step. So direct injection of the protein to our system to generate immune response. So in addition to the protein, it also has some lipids, which helps to stabilize the protein and enter into our immune cells. It also contains the adjuvant. Adjuvant is a substance or compound that enhance the immune response. In this case, it actually uses a naturally occurring extract from a tree. I really couldn't pronounce this tree, but it's naturally occurring tree is an extract from actually this tree's bark. There are some adjuvant that used for some other vaccines that contains aluminum, but this is a natural adjuvant. In addition, it also has very common components of various salts, sugars, and acid. Again, those ingredients are there are to stabilize the vaccine. 那我们看到这个蛋白，这个 Novavax 这个蛋白的这个疫苗呢，那跟这个以前的这个基于 mRNA 的这个疫苗是不太一样的。那 mRNA 大家记得是它的里边呢是一段那个 mRNA 的基因片段 ，mRNA 的基因片段打到身体里边呢，那这个 mRNA 的基因片段呢会被我们人体的细胞、免疫细胞然后看到，然后呢会用我们自己的这一套那个翻译蛋白的这个机制呢，翻译出来这个病毒的肌蛋白。那我们这个人体看到这个肌蛋白，发现不是自己的一部分呢，然后就会产生这种免疫的反应，从而产生抗体或者其他的免疫机理。那这个 Novavax 的这个蛋白呢是不用通过这个基因这个翻译的这一段，它是直接就是已经做好的被蛋白工程做好的这个病毒的这个肌蛋白的片段，直接打到我们的这个身体里边，那我们的免疫系统就直接可以对这个蛋白呢产生这个免疫反应，那就不需要通过这个基因的这个翻译的这一段，基因翻译到蛋白的这一段过程。那除了这个有蛋白以外呢，这个里边还有其他的一些常见的一些成分，包括脂肪啊，包括免疫促进剂。那里边这个免疫促进剂呢，其实是一个天然的一个树的树皮里得来的，那跟有一些其他的这个疫苗的这个免疫促进剂不一样，有些免疫促进是有可能一些铝化合物产生的，这个是完全天然免疫的。这个我查了一下这个字典，这个树叫皂皮树， 有的时候它的那个成分用来做化妆品或者肥皂之类的。另外呢，还有一些盐呐、蛋白啊，还有一些酸碱性的物质呢，主要是用来维持这个整个这个蛋白结构的稳定的。这跟其他我们所有用过几十年的这种疫苗的这个构成呢，基本没有太大区别。所以大家如果有这个对 mRNA 或者 DNA 基于的这种疫苗有这个疑惑或者有安全性的考虑的话，想着它可能从发现到运用也就10多年的这个呢，基于蛋白的这个工程呢，这个手段呢，其实已经很长时间了。So there are many things that we concern about ingredients. So this is just from the CDC that what are not used in this particular vaccine. Actually, I should have put a name, but this is particularly related to this Novavax protein subunit based vaccine. So there is no preservative such as thimerosal or mercury. There's no antibiotics, no medications, no tissues such as aborted fetal tissue cells, gelatin, and any material from the animal. There's also no egg product or nuts for those who are allergic to those ingredients. There's also no metals and no latex. So this 那这个呢就是从 CDC 直接拿过来的，也有一些物质呢，我们比较担心的。那里面没有什么防腐剂，没有抗生素，没有一些其他的药物啊，或者是一些生物制品啊，比如说是细胞啊，胚胎的细胞啊，或者是动物性的蛋白啊，或者是怎么样，也没有鸡蛋，也没有这个麸质或者是花生这样之类的，有些人可能对它们过敏。那这里边也没有重金属啊，也没有这个乳胶，所以如果大家对这些东西比较有过敏或者是比较敏感的话，那大家可以看到这个从 CDC 拿过来的这个数据呢，是这些东西都是没有的。So what about booster? So I hope many of you have received the primary series and some boosters. Myself, I have received the primary series plus first booster. So currently the second booster is approved for adults age 50 years and older, or if you're younger but with moderately to severe immunocompromised conditions. But if you are 5 years and older and you are already qualified for at least one booster. 那关于这个加强针的呢，那现在的什么情况呢？就是你如果是50岁以上的，或者是你即使比50岁小于50岁，但是你有中度或者重度的免疫低下的这种情况呢，你就可以打两个 booster。那如果加上最早的2针的话，现在可以打到4针。那我自己的是打了最开始的2针和1个 booster。那根据这个 CDC 的这个 FDA 的这个条文呢，我现在还不能够打第2个 booster。那如果是在座的话，大家基本上都至少可以打到3针了，2个最开始的和1个 booster。那最重要的呢就是so there's also important aspect to consider, which is the FDA currently is not very enthusiastic about approving the second booster for people 50 years and younger, mainly because, well, for the current vaccine, mainly because both Moderna and Pfizer are working hard to come out BA4 and BA5 specific vaccine in the fall. So most likely within 2 months, we will have another booster available for most of us, probably all of us, whether you are immunocompromised or you are 50 and older or 50 years and younger. The BA4 and BA5 specific vaccine will be available. I'm actually myself waiting for that booster. Probably the first one to roll up the sleeve to get that if that's available. 那现在还有一个比较重要的是呢，就是因为the reason for that is also that the previous vaccine is less effective against the Omicron subvariant BA4 and BA5 compared to the earlier strains. 那还有一个重要的就是要给大家要讲的是，就是 FDA 和这个 CDC 现在不是特别使很大的力气，要这个批准这个现在的这个疫苗的作为这个第二针加强针，尤其是对这个50岁以下的这个像50岁以下没有免疫低下这种病基础的这种人。那为什么呢？是因为现在的这个努力呢，现在主要是在做一个针对Omicron 这个 BA4 或者 BA5 的这个疫苗，争取呢是在2个月之内就可以问世。当那个疫苗问世了以后呢，我觉得所有的人都应该可以去打那个疫苗，包括我自己，我也在等待那个疫苗。大家也会看到一些这种报告，就是以前我们的这个疫苗对这个新的 BA4 或者 BA5 的这个防护性呢，比以前的那个那些病毒呢要稍微差一点。So there is still quite a bit of vaccine hesitancy, but hopefully will be less and less, especially with the more vaccine available, especially hopefully the Novavax protein-based vaccine will increase the vaccine acceptance. So in the United States, we still have about up to 14% of all adults have not received any vaccine. And the majority of those individuals are, you can see here, different scenarios, multiple races, non-Hispanic white, living in a rural area, below poverty and uninsured. Actually, Mendocino County it actually fits very well in this category. 那现在我们还是有很多的这个对疫苗产生这种顾虑的，还是有很大的这个空间可以来提高。希望这个新的疫苗是蛋白工程基于的这个疫苗呢，能够刺激这个疫苗的这个接受性。那你看，在美国现在大概还有将近14%的这种成年人还没有接受过1针的疫苗。这些他们做的这个分析呢，主要就是主要是这些人分布在呢少数一族，或者是住在这种边缘的地区呀，低于贫困线，或者是没有保险。那我们现在住的这个 Mendocino 这个县呢，有很多人都是属于这种情况。So if we still doubt about vaccines efficacy, I think that question should be closed. And even during the current stage, when most of people already either got a vaccine or got infected in the past or got both. But if you look at just Los Angeles County's COVID infection outcome by vaccine status, this is updated just a couple of days ago. On the top picture, this is the difference on the death between vaccinated versus unvaccinated. On the upper hand side is younger patients, and on the lower part is older patients, 65 years and older. The blue represents vaccinated. The orange represents unvaccinated. This is per 100,000 people. So you can see there is a drastic difference regarding the death rate between vaccinated versus non-vaccinated. The chart below is the hospitalization rate. This also adds the people who got vaccinated but not boosted. You can see there is a dose response. So if you are vaccinated but not boosted, you still do much better than unvaccinated. But if you get boosted, obviously your outcome is better. 那如果我们现在还对这个疫苗的这个有效性还有疑虑的话，那其实这个问题我们不应该再有这个问题了。那我给大家再看一个这个最近的，在洛杉矶的这个病毒的感染，主要把它分过来是你有没有这个病人有没有打过疫苗。那你可以看在上面这个图呢，是关于这个病毒产生的这种死亡率的来讲。那这个是50岁到64岁，底下是65岁以上。那蓝色呢是打过疫苗，橘色呢是没有打过疫苗。大家可以看到了，这是一个率了，每10万人的这个死亡率，被感染以后的死亡率，那你看这个区别还是很大的。那底下的这个图呢也是同样的这个数据方法，但是住院率。这个里边加了一个绿色的这个显示。那这个绿色呢是你打了疫苗但是没有打加强针。那大家还是可以看到一个，你即使没有打加强针，你的这个住院率呢还是要比没有打过疫苗的要高很多，要低很多。但是呢如果你打过加强针的话，那这个是最后的结果是更加好。So next I'm going to jump to the oral antivirals, which was described by Dr. Hengbing Wang a couple months ago. Probably 8 months ago when I did my last presentation, I had a slide or two about the first antiviral, which was called molnupiravir. But now we have a second antiviral, which turns out to be more effective based on the clinical trial data. This is not available. In fact, I probably prescribed more than 60 to 70 prescriptions in the last 2 months for my patients. So it's called a Paxlovid. It's active against all variants of concerns, including Omicron, BA4, and BA5. And it's an outpatient treatment. And you take twice a day for about 5 days. So in the clinical trial, when they study this drug, it reduced hospitalization and death almost by 88% compared to the placebo. And if you look at actual data, there was no death in the Paxlovid arm as compared to 9 deaths in placebo. And hospitalizations also, there was a drastic difference. 0.7% versus 6.5%. The FDA eventually approved 5 days regimen, but the drug is also effective even you take only for 3 days. The FDA approved the drug to be used within 5 days of symptoms onset. But if you use earlier, the outcome is better. 那这个我在想讲到的呢，我在10月份前上一次做这个报告的时候呢，是当时讲了第一个这个抗病毒的这个口服药，是在这个就是这个在门诊可以开到的这种药，不需要去急诊或者住院。当时讲的那个药呢，当时很兴奋。那现在这个第二个药呢也出来了，这个药比第一个药还好，尤其是它是针对所有的这个亚型 variants， 包括我们现在的这个 Omicron 的 BA4 BA5， 它是一个自己在家里可以吃，在过去1-2个月，我大概已经开了大概至少60-70次了。这个副作用很小，好像有一个病人好像是有一些恶心啊，还是有一个身上有一点皮疹，那很快就过去了。是口服药，1天吃2次，吃5天。那你看这个最早的这个临床数据呢，它可以减少 减少大概88%的减少这个住院率和死亡率。在这个临床试验里呢，那在用药的这一组里边呢，没有人死亡，但是用这个安慰剂的呢是9个人死亡。那这个住院率呢也是很低，一个是0.7%，一个是6.5%，这个差别还是很大的。那这个 FDA 和最后批准的这个用药时间呢，这个很重要。你如果有感染的话，你要去打电话给你的家庭医生或者其他的医生的话，他们第一个问题要问你就是你的这个症状开始已经几天了，因为 FDA 说是认为的这个你就跟我们现在流感那个药也是一样的，以前流感的那个药也是你要吃这个药呢，一定要在发病的5天之内吃。那发病5天以外吃到底有没有用呢？我们也不知道，可能也会有用，但是它这个 FDA 这个批文呢，就是发病的5天之内吃。而且现在这个药呢，已经越来越多的这个药房呢，也已经有存货，不像刚开始的时候呢，像我们在有开的时候只有一个，现在有好几个这个药房都有，药局都有这个药。So I now want to jump to the antigen test. So now most of you guys probably have stocked so many antigen tests. Very few of us now go to the authorities or the government place to do a PCR test in an outpatient base. So the antigen-based test is very great at detecting highly infectious people. So if you have symptoms due to COVID, it's likely that you will be positive. You can expect the average antigen test to catch up to 97% of a case in the first week of the symptoms. If you don't have the symptoms, the test is kind of not as good. False negatives are very common at the beginning of the infection, especially with the Omicron. If you have any symptoms, do not trust negative test. I always recommend patients to repeat a test in 24 to 48 hours. Some of the patients, I even recommend them to go to the places that they can get a PCR test. It's most likely will turn positive if you truly have a COVID, even initial antigen test was negative. 那我们现在呢，就是大家基本人手都有很多这种就是测试剂了，都是针对于这个病毒的抗原的这个测试的这个试剂盒。那如果你得到了这个新冠，而且是很有症状的咳嗽啊、发烧啊，那你测这个的话，它准确率其实是很高的，应该可以都达到97%，尤其是你在第1个星期之内有这个症状的。但是在这个感染的刚开始的时候呢，它有可能会出现那种假阴性的。尤其是现在这个 Omicron 的这些亚型，比如说 BA.5，如果你现在的这种情况下，你如果有这种流感症状，你测你的这个家里的这种抗原的这种kit， 这种你如果是一个阴性的话呢，我建议你在1天到2天以后再测一遍，如果再是阴性的话，你才可以稍微放心一点，因为这个在最早的时候，这个假阴性还是有存在的。你如果真是有 COVID，然后有症状的话，那这个试剂盒总会这个转成阳性的。So what about nowadays we have events? For example, if the CTTB has an event with current Omicron, if we want to screen before any events or CTTB events or DRBU events. Like I said in the earlier slides, if you have infection but in an incubation time or asymptomatic, the antigen test only catches about 44 to 70% of case. This is good but not perfect. So for most of the events that I've seen or expert recommends, they do a cadence testing, which is two tests. One is test 48 hours before the event, and then again the morning of the event. So if you have 2 tests that are negative, it's considered a much better result than you just test one being negative. 那如果我们如果有一些什么这种家庭聚会啊，或者是像这种最后这万佛城或者是法大的一些这种聚集的这种活动呢，现在呢很多专家的建议呢做这种双测试，就是你在48小时，在这个活动48小时以前测一遍，然后在这个活动的当天早上测一遍，这样的话就可以有更多的机会来看到或抓住那些没有症状的感染者，因为可以看到这个，如果你是没有症状的话的感染者的话，你用这个 antigen test 的话，用这个抗原的这个方法的话，只能达到44%到44%到70%的这种情况。So this is my last slides before the question. So many of you guys probably heard about President Biden was infected about maybe 10 days ago. I don't think he had symptoms, or he had a really mild symptoms. I don't remember. And he was given proper treatment and stayed in isolation. I think about 5 days, and then came out of isolation because his antigen test was negative. So antigen tests are very good at telling you when you are not infectious or not. So in fact, in the future, I'm not be surprised that CDC or FDA would recommend to come out of isolation if antigen test becomes negative, as compared to the current policy, which is you isolate for 10 days regardless, and you just come out. As we know, some of the patients, they shed virus or still become infectious even beyond 10 days. So if you have the luxury of having those testing kits at home, I recommend you leave isolation once your antigen test is negative. This is what actually President Biden did. But unfortunately, he became positive again yesterday, as some of you probably heard. This is called rebound positives. President Biden actually took the Paxlovid, which is antiviral, and we know that is very effective reducing hospitalization and deaths. But the drug is only taken for 5 days, and there is about a 5 to 10% of patients. Once the drug is stopped, then the virus or antigen test can become positive, and this is actually called a rebound infection. Doesn't mean like you get infected again. It just means that for whatever reason, the 5 days of Paxlovid is not able to eradicate or help your body to eradicate a virus. But once you stop the drug, somehow the virus rebound again. Now you have to depend on your body to eradicate it. So it is recommended if you did take the Paxlovid to treat a symptomatic COVID infection. After that, it is recommended you test again at the end of the 5 days of taking the Paxlovid, and then 2 days later you take another test, because there is about 5% to 10% chance of being positive again. If that's the case, you should consider yourself still infectious, and then continue to isolate until it turns negative, or it goes to 10 days, as what the CDC and FDA recommends right now. 那现在你们很多人应该听到了，这个拜登总统大概10天前感染到了这个新冠，他好像是有一点点症状，不是特别严重。那白宫的这个专家呢，就给他开了这个 Paxlovid 这个抗病毒的药。那他5天以后呢，他就出来了，他就从这个隔离中出来了。为什么呢？他的那个抗原的那个检查呢变成了阴性。那几天呢，很多这个专家还在发表这些议论啊，还有这些新闻也说，现在这个 CDC 的这个10天呢，是不是需要改变？10天的这个隔离会不需要改变成，当你的这个抗原阴性了以后，你就可以出来这个隔离了，因为我们现在也知道有一些这个病人呢，他这个10天是不够的， 或者有一些病人的那个时间太长了，尤其是一些免疫系统比较低下的，我们知道他可能是这个恢复时间呢比10天可能要长，他们有可能还是带病毒，会比时间更长。那昨天呢，大家也可能听说了，这个总统呢拜登总统呢又回到了这个隔离了，因为什么呢？因为他的这个抗原呢又阳性了。那这是为什么呢？那现在我们也看到了，就是尤其是在大家很多人都吃了这个抗病毒的药以后呢，这个5天以后呢，那这个抗病毒的药呢和你自己的身体不足够以来这个驱除这个病毒，那这个病毒的药停了以后呢，那这个病毒有可能会复发，那这时候呢就要需要你这个人体自己的这个免疫系统呢去来实现这个康复。那一般这个情况大概是发生在5%到10%的吃了这个抗病毒 Paxlovid 的这个人群中。所以呢现在建议呢是你如果是吃了这个药，你如果发现你这个抗原呢已经阴性了，但是呢这个时候你不要相信它就是你完全就没有问题了，然后就可以在外边就可以随便出隔离大摇大摆或怎么样。现在呢建议你呢2天以后再测一下，因为有这个5%到10%的这个吃过这个抗病毒的药呢，它会转阳。那如果转阳了的话，那就会出现这种情况呢，就是你不得不再进行隔离直到10天或者怎么样，或者直到你的这个病原抗原的这个检查呢再次变成阴性。So this is relative to what happened in the last 10 days with our president's case, which is very informational and educational from many aspects. I think that's it. So hopefully we are at the very tail end of this BA.5 wave. I don't know when is the next wave is going to be. Last month or last couple of weeks, I heard there is another variant first detected in India. It's called a 27.5 or something like that, but seems like that is not going to be a threat. Apparently, it only survives where the BA.5 was not very prevalent. So the BA.5 is still the dominant force. We have yet know when the next variant of concern will be a problem. 那我今天的这个报道呢就到此结束。希望我们已经是在这个现在这个BA.5 这个感染那个峰值，或者是已经接近那个峰值。那希望再过几个星期呢，我们就会看到一些更加振奋的消息。看看我们下一次这个感染的这个峰什么时候再来吧。这个应该是还会再出现的。前几个星期我看到有一个亚型呢叫27.5 or something like that in first 在印度发现，但是呢现在好像更多的这个研究表明这个并不是一个让我们非常害怕的一种亚型，但是肯定会出现的，所以大家还是要做好准备，尤其是当秋季来临，大家开学，然后圣诞节、感恩节这种情况，应该是下一次这个峰值的这个大概的这个区间。好，那我就听到这里。如果大家有问题 ，if you guys have questions, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hengbing. There's a couple of questions in the chat box. I think this. Can you see that in the chat box?
Yeah, I'm clicking that right now.
Ask how long does it take for COVID to survive in air?
In the very beginning, I think that Dr. Hengbing Wang actually described many models of how long the virus survive. My recollection is about 6 to 8 hours. If the because it could attach to the small droplets, and it also depends on the actual situation of the environment. I believe there was experiment done that if you leave a virus on a very smooth metal surface, and the virus can survive for like a day or two. It really depends, but generally speaking, 6 to 8 hours.
The person continued to ask what about the food?
So the actual contact, physical contact with the virus, as compared to respiration, droplets, or aerosol, we now know that actual physical contact is much less than an issue than initially we thought. So most of the transmission is through the aerosol and the droplets. So the contact-based infection nowadays is very uncommon as compared to what we thought in the very beginning in the early 2020.
你要翻译一下成中文。
那这个就是这位朋友问到的问题呢，就是在这个空气里边，这个病毒能够大概活多久？然后还有就是，如果这个病毒在你的这个食物上，或者是一些其他的介质的这个表面，这种情况会怎么样？那我记得当时在最早的时候，这个王存林博士在2020年最早的时候，当时举过一些这个数据，包括在空气里的这个存活时间大概是6到8个小时，我记得。但是如果在一些特殊的介质，比如说很光滑的金属表面，那这个病毒呢可以存活1到2天。虽然是这个情况，但是真正造成感染的情况呢，我们现在认为呢，就是更多的感染，绝大部分的感染发生在这个呼吸这个吸入，包括这个小颗粒或者是大颗粒这种情况下，即使病毒在这个介质的这个表面，通过这种情况感染的可能性是非常小的。现在看来，主要是通过这种空气的这种传播。I was actually going to talk about it, then I didn't have time. So monkeypox, yes, it's becoming a problem, especially for San Francisco. So monkeypox is a virus that is actually has the vaccine, already has a vaccine for it, but it's in short supply, and it also has a treatment. It's mostly communicated by the close contact. Mostly by physical contact with infected individual or contact with the body fluid. They also transmit by large droplet, but it's much less of a concern. Now I think we have probably 200-300 monkeypox cases in the United States. And yesterday I just got an email from our hospital. From what I read between the lines, it wasn't very clear. So there might be someone that the hospital is investigating about whether an individual has infection. But I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't read exact between the lines. But it's an issue. But mostly it's physical contact, and it happens more in homosexual population with and based on my reading, and it's started with upper respiratory symptoms, fevers, myalgias, muscle pains, and also enlarged lymph nodes on the neck. And then a couple weeks later, you see rash. Those rash are raised rash on the various body parts. It's probably not very big concern for average individual, but one should be concerned about the development. But I don't think it's going to be a huge problem to burden our healthcare system. 那这个朋友问关于这个monkeypox 一种这个猴痘病毒。那这个呢，其实在美国在这个历史上也有过好几次这种小的这种传播，但每次的范围都不是很大。那主要是因为它是通过这种密切接触感染的。 主要是通过密切接触，比如说这种体液的这种交换，包括这种皮肤的接触，极个别情况呢是通过那种比较大的那种空气小滴来感染，但那个情况呢，不是很多。那主要发生在美国这个主要发生在这种同性恋的这种人群中，主要症状呢就是刚开始呢也是跟上呼吸道感染差不多，发热呀、喉咙痛啊，然后肌肉痛啊，然后脖子啊或者其他部位淋巴结肿大，然后几个星期以后呢，就会在身体的不同部位产生一种长得比较特殊的一种皮疹。就是那种凸起来的圆形的，有时候中间会有一点点凹陷，就像一个那个肚脐眼是那样的。那这个呢，这个主要它这个传播是不通过空气传播，主要通过这种就是必须要通过接触才能传播，所以这个应该对我们这个整个的这个卫生系统的这个影响不会很大，但是是一个公共卫生的是一个紧急事件，这个是毋庸置疑的。因为任何一个这种因为这个从我这个角度来讲呢，就是因为这个人群呢还是比较大的，所以这个感染起来也是不可估量的。但是对于整个对于这个医疗系统，应该它的影响不是特别大。还有就是我们昨天我也接到了医院的一个邮件呢，就是好像是说这面有一位患者现在正在查，但是这个意思也不是很明显，我也最后也没有看出来是什么意思，好像可能就是向我们给一点这个警告的样子，就是这个不需要太担心。
关于那个 Novavax vaccine，那如果要打的人到哪里去打？
这个我还没有这个具体去研究，应该马上一般批准，大概几星期就会 available 吧。那应该是在普通的药房的应该有了，应该很快就会有了。因为现在大家打疫苗都是去那个，就像我们一般的这个 Walgreens 啊或者 Rite Aid 的这种 pharmacy 去打就好了。对，对，我还没有问过这个问题。对。So if you are interested in Novavax vaccine, which is a protein base that is different from mRNA, it should be available very soon from your local pharmacies. You can call to check it out.
Another question I have is the Paxlovid. Can you grind it into powder?
Can you say it again, 法师？
那个 Paxlovid 你可以把它磨成粉吗？ The reason I asked that question is because that my mom actually got test positive in Taiwan.
Okay.
And they didn't prescribe the Paxlovid. They prescribed the
Molnupiravir.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
I asked them why. And after a couple of days, the reason they gave me was because that the Paxlovid cannot be ground into powder. And my mom probably cannot swallow the pill. That's why they prescribe it.
So Molnupiravir is just one kind of medicine. It's only one active ingredient. And Paxlovid actually has two ingredients. And one of the ingredients is actually that we actually used for HIV infection. And Paxlovid is also very how do I say? It actually relies a lot of liver reserve to metabolize the medicine. So there's a lot more drug-drug interaction between Paxlovid and other medications. For example, if I have a patient who is on blood thinners or who is on certain other medications that Paxlovid and also kidney function. If somebody has a depressed or kidney function, and you can also not use the Paxlovid, you have to use a Molnupiravir. So actually the Paxlovid has many more restrictions than Molnupiravir.
Can you say that in Chinese?
那刚才法师问的就是这个Paxlovid 的这个抗病毒的药呢，因为的法师的母亲在台湾也感染了这个病毒，当时他的那个主管医生呢是没有建议让他吃这个 Paxlovid，而让他吃那个最早的那个 Molnupiravir。法师就问这个药，是不是不能，而且这个他的母亲呢好像是只能把这个药磨碎了。那个主管医生说呢，这个 Paxlovid 是不能把它打磨碎然后吃的。那 Paxlovid 和这个以前的那个 Molnupiravir 这两个药是不一样的。这个 Molnupiravir 呢就是单一的一种成分，那这个 Paxlovid 呢有2种成分在里边，所以这是不能把它磨碎的。然后它是有一种那种特殊的机制。然后这个 Paxlovid 比这个 Molnupiravir 呢更加限制性更多一些，比如说它会有更多的这种药物之间的这种互相的影响。比如说我有的病人他吃一些抗凝血的药啊，或者是吃一些特殊的抗感染的药，或者是他的肾功能比较低下，那这个 Paxlovid 呢就不是首选的药，它更不是特别安全。那这种病人呢，我们一般都给他们开那个最早的那个 Molnupiravir。
The question about rebound after taking Paxlovid, do they consider to take Paxlovid for more than 5 days? Did they ever consider that?
I think it's so I think it's going to be really depending on the treating physician, and I would only imagine the scenario that the patient is very well. First of all, if the antigen test became negative, that almost means that initially became negative after conclusion of Paxlovid treatment. That almost means that the patient has improved significantly. So if there is a rebound phenomena, meaning antigen test became positive again in 2-3 days, most likely that patient does not have symptoms, or symptoms is very, very minimal. So I don't think it's going to be a problem of not taking more Paxlovid. If the patient still has quite a bit of symptoms on day 7 or 8 after you take the Paxlovid, the antigen test is not going to be negative. So that's just my thought. Yeah, I don't think the data now suggests you treat more than 5 days. 那法师的问题就是，你如果吃完抗病毒的药，然后吃完5天以后，2-3天过去以后，然后你的这个抗原的这个又变成阳性，那有没有考虑再吃5天或者吃更长时间的药？那这个呢，就是我觉得跟这个开药的这个医生的这个决定也有很大的关系，看看他要不要愿意开更长时间的药。但是我的这个思维呢，就是你如果吃了5天的药，然后你抗原转阴了，然后那这个时候的基本也意味着你的症状几乎是没有，或者是有一点点。你如果再转阳2-3天以后再转阳，这个时期呢，你这个其实应该也不会再有什么太多的症状。那这时候呢，你不吃也无所谓了，除非是我想如果有那种免疫系统特别低下的人，我可能会考虑，比如说刚做完骨髓干细胞移植的这种病人，我可能会考虑。但是绝大部分情况下，可能就会让免疫系统自己去把重新复制出来一些病毒再把它处理掉。
When you got a rebound, it's probably too late to take Paxlovid anyway, right? Because it's recommended that Paxlovid should be taken as soon as possible.
Right. The rebound means that you already took the Paxlovid. So 2 days, 3 days after you finished the treatment, then it became positive again. So, well, again, I think there might be using certain extreme scenarios, but I don't think it's going to be a common practice. And a majority of the patient will recover, because most of the time, especially you're already vaccinated, by day 7, 8, and 9, your cell-mediated immune defense is going to kick in and take care of the virus. 那个法师刚才的这个评论就是，你如果转阳以后，那是不是就是吃这个药太晚了？但是其实你这个转阳的这个前提是你已经吃了这个5天的这个抗病毒药，然后几天以后又转阳。那这种情况下呢，其实顾虑不应该有太多的顾虑，因为这时候呢，你这个身体的这种细胞基于 T 细胞的这种免疫反应应该已经产生了，然后已经尤其是你以前打过疫苗的，那你这个 T 细胞都已经开始在强力工作，那应该就可以足够把这个病毒那个清除掉。
People still have any more questions? 大家有还没有什么问题 I just want to clarify, actually, the last time you gave us the update was 11 months ago.
Yeah,
yeah. The end of August last
that was when Putavir was just approved. I remember it was like literally within a week. Yeah.
Right.
And, the first antiviral drug. Yeah.
And Chunlin's talk was 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. So I think Chunlin's family moved to Florida, so
right,
he's
right.
no longer here. Yeah.
But he promised to give us talk when we vaccine.
Oh, really? From the Florida? That's
yeah,
good. We can see what Florida is doing in comparison to California.
I asked him whether they'll be too late. He said, okay, it's no problem. Just once a while, it's okay.
Yeah.
我刚刚只是讲说那个王恒斌医师他上次因为我们做这个现况报道是在11个月前，去年的8月底。那么王春林律师他给我们的做的报告是在6个月前，是在1月底的时候。If people have no more questions, so I'll make an announcement for next Sunday. Okay. Before that, I want to share my screen. So. Next Sunday, we're supposed to celebrate Ulambana. It's not the actual day, but now it's the Sunday before Ulambana. And Reverend Grisher kindly agreed to come back to talk about Ulambana, because he said he has a lot of things to talk about it. 那下礼拜天，我们传统上是会庆祝云南朋友法会，云南朋友法会不是正日，是礼拜天，我们会提早庆祝。那施法师他很慈悲，他答应回来再和我们谈谈这个问题。And he wants to talk about this question about the really meaning of Ulambana, because I think traditionally people think it's a ghost day, but actually in Buddhism it's a filial respect. So you want to clarify that issue. 那在中国的传统里头，这个中元节嘛，7月15，大家都认为是个鬼节，但是实际上在佛教里头，这是一个孝节，孝节。所以施法师他是要和我们谈谈这个问题，从鬼节到大孝，澄清这云南朋友法会的真理。大概就是这样子。So I thank Dr. Wang to give us the update. It's very helpful. 我们谢谢王医师给我们做这个讲演，让我们了解现在的情形怎么样。Helen, can you lead us to dedicate merit?
OK, 阿弥陀佛，法师。
Whenever you are ready.
Sorry. May the Mary from this practice adorn all the Buddha's lands, repay the kindness from above, and rescue those in paths below. May all who see or hear all this resolve upon awakening, and when this body meets its end, be born together in the land of bliss.
Say pause. In respect to the Venerable Master, thank you for being again, and everyone's participation. 我们谢谢王医师，谢谢大家的参与。阿弥陀佛。